I'm Michael Smith, Thursday, January 18th, 2018, and I'm back. Hopefully. I should be. I had a lot of ideas before, if you're following along. Unfortunately, I didn't get that far at that very moment. In fact, I got so far down to paperwork, down to everything ready to be submitted, and my life just started going down. Like, not downward, but downward spiral. I mean, it was just, I started having a battle out with my landlord. He was not fixing things, so I kind of like hostage the rent, and he didn't want to have that, so we started doing the court thing and started having to find a new place. All these weird things, right? The kids leaving, kids having issues, and to the point where it caused problems and they left, and I don't know. It is what it is, but that's what I take, is that everything's happening for a divine reason. No matter if you can see it or if you can't see it, you need to be aware of that. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is coincidental. Synchronicities only exist because you create them to exist. So don't take that for granted. Understand that nothing is a coincidence. You are somehow orchestrating it in a deeper mind that you're not even aware of. And that's who I'm trying to talk to. It sounds crazy, I know, but that's why I'm trying to project these videos. That's how I need to document some things in order for you to possibly understand better. I have some whole lot of plans, whether it be business related or even just this spirit related. One and the same technically, but I have a whole lot of ideas that I want to bring you along for, and that was the original plan from the get-go, is I wanted to be able to document some things, but it started going a different direction, and I didn't really like the direction it was going in. And spirit or universe started talking to me directly about it. And when I say this, I don't mean that I was sitting in a corner and I'm hearing voices and I started distinguishing those voices as different. And even though that could be very well the case, and some maybe do that, but that's not what I'm referring to. I am referring to the fact that I can translate information that may be coming to my doorstep or my porch of a mind, and I can basically determine what it is that is the message that's trying to be sent. Now, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Probably all of the above, right? But that's the balance. And that's why I have a mini list. I'm trying to be a little more organized, a little more structured with what I want to project into these videos. Being a new year, new start, new beginning, I want to be able to make that possible. And hopefully it goes positively. But with the right intentions, it should. But if it's not, then hey, it wasn't meant to be, but I gave it my best shot. So here I am. When I last left off, though, real quick, it was kind of random and sporadic. I didn't plan on it whatsoever. And only through the symbols did I listen. I had a roadrunner come across my path, a dead roadrunner. And through that little mission, yes, I defeathered it. And it may sound crazy to some people, but that stuff doesn't bother me. I'm not a germaphobe. I'm not weird about all that stuff. If anything, I respect the life. I wanted to take the bird out of the road, and in doing so, I needed a smudger, a smudge. I don't even know what it's called, but to do my smudging, to be able to bless my houses or people or whoever, I've been using a generic fan type setup or fake feathers, and I asked the universe a long time ago to kind of let me be blessed with some feathers. And I wanted some red-tailed hawk feathers. I would have been happy with some eagle feathers. I mean, I just wanted some form of symbolic featherage. And I never thought of a roadrunner, but when I came across it, it was like no time like the present. You know, I felt like it was there for me because it was just everything the way it happened. I mean, in that direct day, that moment, a vulture was hovering over this, what I didn't know was then, but a roadrunner in the road. So I pulled over. I thought the vulture was just a symbol for me to pull over. And when I did, that's when I found it and proceeded to go ahead and create a little mini memorial for it and bury it. And at the same time, I did defeather it. I still have them somewhere. We moved, so I'm not too sure where a lot of things are at, but somewhere I have it for me to be able to create a device for my smudging purposes. Feathered fan, basically. So smudging, if you're not familiar, is like taking sage, burning it. There's other wild flourishings that you can use that will actually be beneficial, but white sage is one of the most medicinal types, but it more or less comes down to the smoke. So as long as the plant of choice is somehow symbolic to you, I'm sure it's going to work, because technically the smoke is going to be what creates the cleansing of negative ions. That's another subject. We'll get there. So the main thing is that this Roadrunner landed on my lap in front of me. I went ahead and did my thing, but then that was on like a Friday or something, and then that weekend I had the time to marinate on it, and it just seemed obvious. Now the thing that it brought to my mind was Quetzalcoatl's story, a legend or myth from the Aztec culture, maybe Mayan. I think Mayan has brought more into it, more of that generation. So essentially this Roadrunner is confronted, but there's a conflicting understanding that is the bird of paradise or the Roadrunner. The Roadrunner, in part of this myth, is said that it lost those feathers that were once beautiful and plumed and everything else, but it is a common understanding that this story stems from the bird of paradise, which has plumed feathers and is very beautiful. And in this story, the serpent is looking for feathers because there's a supposed contest between the animals in the animal kingdom for being king of the jungle. The serpent convinces the birds to, I think in the story it's the Roadrunner, to give up its feathers for its purpose of gaining the throne, and which it does, but then it's more like a feathery facade, it's not real. It was a fake imposter. It's someone who was willing to go to the outstretched mile to do whatever they could to gain their place unrightfully. And that's kind of where that story goes. Now, there's a lot more to it symbolically, I think, but just for the basis of it, that's kind of what that story is taking something that isn't something and making it something in order for it to gain its purpose, or what it thinks its purpose is. And to me, that was me in those videos. Like, I came on the videos just like I'm coming now. I had intentions. I wanted to be able to project something to you guys. I had this whole plan, and it ended up being more like me talking down to everybody. Like, hey, this is what I know, etc., etc. And it's not what I wanted. I wanted a participation. I wanted a group effort. I wanted more than just me talking about factual things, historical things, spiritual things. And I'm here for it, but I need to include some personalness to it. So that's what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to really project, I guess, and I wrote this out the other day, is there's 5 basic things, and there may be a lot more, but there's 5 basic things that I want you to take away from these videos when I'm talking. Whenever you see me talking, keep in mind that these 5 principles kind of rule my whole understanding about all this. So number 1, patience. Patience is your number 1 key in order to get anywhere with spirit. Spirit is not... I want to make sure I clarify spirit, but then at the same time I don't right now, because your definition of spirit is a lot different than my definition of spirit. But if it makes you understand a little bit better, that's what I want you to know, is whatever you understand it to be. But number 1, if you want to have any interaction whatsoever with spirit positively, in the form of teaching you, guiding you, giving you some form of benefit, and not taking away from you, draining you, because spirit can be, unfortunately, both good and bad, quote unquote. And there's reasons why, and I'm going to point those out in the future. But main thing is patience. If you don't have patience, it's not going to even bother acknowledging you, because you're not taking the willing participation in order to correct yourself. Now, how do I know this? Why do I know this? Because for me, all of my communication that I have now with spirit didn't begin until I actually was beginning my practice of patience. The more impatient you are, you have anger, you have frustration, you have stress, you have worry, you have all these different emotions that are triggering your vibration, your frequency. And some of these terms, yes, I use new age terms, but don't get it confused, because there's a method to the madness. I want to make sure that you understand every bit of what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm here to try to convey. So with patience, if you don't have it, it's not going to waste its time on you, basically. And I don't want to say in such a negative negation form, but it's true, unfortunately. I learned mine in my 99 Cadillac DeVille, like one random day, talking out loud out of frustration because I don't even want to go into it, but I was frustrated at that moment, and universe started talking to me. From that day forward, I asked basically if patience was the issue. It gave me direct signs, and patience became my focus go-to point to try to correct. So that's number one. Number two, that I can say without even looking at this list, these are the two most important technically in my eyes, but you need to have an open mind. You cannot close it. If you close your mind at any corner or cranny or whatever of belief, you're going to be led down rabbit holes that ain't your rabbit hole. These rabbit holes are intended for your purpose, your life's journey, your whole uncovering. And we're put into this world because we're meant to uncover it. I feel like I'm a 4-year-old infant right now, but with new information. New information that I was completely oblivious to, but I wasn't oblivious to. I just didn't understand properly. So the number two thing to keep in mind is always keep an open mind, because when you close it, that's how you get stuck into these corners, these, like just one example, if you believe in demons, then and you experience any kind of spiritual force around you, most times than none, your mind's going towards demonic. But why is it going towards demonic? Which brings me to my next point, is impulse, gut, or thought. Pay attention to it. So the third lesson I want you to endure through this talks is pay attention to that gut reaction. It could be your thought, it could be your emotion, it could be a word in your mind. No matter what, we always have a gut impulse, and our consciousness will over-correlate, or it'll overcorrect. It'll automatically give you a reason why you can't do something. Your conscious will. It'll, as soon as you think, oh, was that my mom? Was that my dad in spirit form? Your conscious will be like, no, that was just the wind. No, that was just the animal. No, that was just the wood shrinking because of the weather temperature. There's so many different things that will occur that your consciousness will just eliminate out the picture altogether. And it's common. So the first thing you have to kind of know is that you need to rely on that gut impulse or thought. Now, do you react on it all the time? No, but there's a reason why that gut impulse or thought is there. There's a reason why it actually made you have that gut reaction, because there's an underlying theme. When spirit communicates to you, it's doing it in the form of the most miraculous, magical possibilities, but it's up to you to choose to believe it or not. And that's where the ego comes in, the consciousness. It creates reasons or speculations or explanations as to why you shouldn't believe that magical aspect. It's just a fact. It still happens to me nonstop. It still happens to me when I'm trying to create these videos, but yet my gut impulse or my gut everything is telling me I need to do these for you guys. And it sounds crazy, right? Like, I don't even understand why I'm doing them, but for the most part, I wish I had a teacher when I was going through some of these things. So the only reason I'm here to keep on coming at you guys with these is I feel that there's a purpose at some point. Now, whether you understand it now or you don't, because it can take quite a process in order to figure out a whole lot of this stuff, because we're discombobulated with so much junk information. It's ridiculous. Like, as I've had to go through my teachings and my own understandings from the universe, I started realizing that there's so much cloud in there in my own brain, and it's all due to the way we've been conditioned. And when I say conditioned, I mean from your parents, it's from your friends, it's from society, it's from the government, it's from everybody. If you're not living your true will, you've been conditioned. And that's the key thing, is that your will has a big part of what it is you're supposed to do in life. And that's going to be what either gives you the fear, what gives you the courage. One thing or another is due to your own self-will. Do you have the courage to pursue through your fear? You have to determine that. And if you don't, you live in the corner. You live the corner of the brain, basically. You don't explore further. You don't go any further with it. You're happy and you're content with what's told to you, what you think you know, and you don't want anything more. You don't want to go any further. But I digress. So, back to the list. Number 4, I'd say the most important, I guess I'm tossing it up, but the most important one of the most important ones, as well as number 1 through 5 here, is you'll never get a definite answer. I guess that should be kind of closer to number 1, because in my understanding, that's been a whole way that I understand, is that you'll never get a definite answer. You'll always be left in mystery if something was truly, whether it's in spirit, like did it truly happen, or whether it be in information, like where do we come from, the Big Bang, or what happens after death, or what happens in a coma. I mean, we'll never get that definite answer. We'll never get it. You have to be satisfied with that knowing, is that you'll never get that answer. There's always the possibility of what you think, of what you know, and what it could actually be. So, I mean, there's so much to it that the easiest way to think about it is that questions should be in the form of a trinity understanding, a positive, negative, neutral. No matter what the question is, you should always go into the question understanding that that question is always going to have 3 potential possibilities: the whole magical, the literal, or maybe the factual. And in every aspect, it could be different for every single person. Every perspective can maybe perceive a certain question differently, or even answer it differently, and that's the craziness. There's so much to it. But the 5th and final one is what you give is what you get. Frequency, karma, vibes. You basically are putting out exactly what it is that you're going to uncover before you. So if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're emotional, if you're crying, if you're somehow feeling resentment, all that is going to come to you in a different form. Now, just like I said in the previous statement, you always get 3 potential possibilities. That's just it. Like, and this can be a prime example. If you're frustrated, you're going to walk outside and you're going to encounter somebody. And that person may or may not, more than likely not, rub you the right way. So you're going to be more frustrated because this person isn't listening, is not doing what they're supposed to, right? So if that's the case, you got to go into it understanding that, is that person really adding to your frustration just because it's a coincidence that they're making you more frustrated? 1. Or 2, are you going into the situation because you're already frustrated and he's just responding to what he or she can see what's going on with your face, and maybe doesn't like what you're projecting, and therefore making you more frustrated, and is basically your own perception. Your perception is already that I'm frustrated, everyone's going to frustrate me. Or 3, 2 people just happen to bump into each other that are both having a bad day. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is that in every aspect, you can always consider 1, the magical, or 2, the literal, or 3, the factual. I mean, it's just always the outcome. And keep that in mind. That's the way that this universe is built. That's what we're founded on, is the fact that you'll never get an answer and you have to rely on free will. It's just one of the facts. That's my list. So, where do I want to go? I'm trying to make it semi-quick, but this first video probably isn't going to be so quick. From this point forward, though, and I know I've said this in the past, but I'm really trying to stick to an outline, a structure, something. I even want it more written down. I want it more set up, which will probably be the next video. But I want to have a structured outline as to what it is I'm talking about, what I want to bring up, how I'm going to say it. And right now it's just sporadically random, but I know I need to get some information out to you guys. The thing is that I have ultimate goals in my mind, and I have short-term, middle-term, long-term, but what I'm doing is nothing about it. In 2017, at the beginning of January, I was all about myself and how I was going to be independent, and I was going to strive towards these goals, and I was going to make them occur, and whatever it took, I was going to focalize on me, and it ended up unraveling in such a way that it wasn't my complete happiness. I started to realize that there needs to be a community. In order for any kind of happiness, I started asking myself questions like, what is it that's making me not happy? What is it that's really bringing me down? Because after I started doing the videos, not only did I stop the videos for my own ego purposes, because I felt like I was feeding my ego too much, but I stopped doing the videos because life just started happening. Like, I started battling it out with my landlord. I had to start going to court dates. I started having family disputes, which now the kids have left because of it, or they just choose to stay away, and that's fine. But all these different things in life started occurring, and throughout this whole process, I still kept asking myself, like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? What is it that I'm trying to make this thing happen here? And basically it's you teaching, understanding, being able to convey information that maybe you can take away from it and understand the world that you kind of live in a little bit better, because the world that's described in every other perspective's opinion is always just a partial true. And I'm not even going to say that my world is entirely true. I could have plenty of outside information that's way out there for anybody and be nowhere close to your own truth. But this truth that I'm going to present to you is going to be either resonating or non-resonating to you. And if it's any bit resonating to you, then maybe you need to ask yourself why. Why is it so? Why am I drawn to it? Like, there's a reason why you're drawn to this information. And letting a little bit of the cat out of the bag in that regard, why you feel that way is because you have a deeper soul that you are unaware of, but it's trying to reach out to you. This was what I uncovered, and I had to figure out through very many trials and tribulations of spirit and interacting and understanding and thinking devils were after me and demons, and in reality it's all universal. So you create it partially, but you also receive it because of your own creation, like this weird teeter-tottering balance. So if you feel that you're seeing demons or demons are after you, then devils and whoever is after you, then that's what's going to be occurring, is you're going to have that dark side come after you. But the ironic twist is you're creating it, like in every aspect, not only from the conscious thinking of it, but your deeper soul self is presenting that on your table for a reason, because you have fears you need to overcome. You have to overcome some form of emotion, something you built up, something you tucked away, something that you're not addressing. Like in every aspect, no matter what fear, torment, hate, frustration that you're going to deal with or go through with, there's a deeper side of you that's creating that for you to go through. It's creating the walkway for you to walk down it. And it's all weird information, right? Like all of this is going to be weird. Like even me just trying to present this to you, this is something that I feel isn't been done. Like there's new age cults and things of that nature, but I'm not trying to like be the leader. I'm not trying to create a cult. I'm trying to create an understanding and information for you to take from, for your own benefit, for your own life living benefit, because there's a long bit of life still left, no matter how old you are, that as long as you're here, you need to be able to understand as much as you can, because without awareness, you're not going to grow as much as you can grow. Awareness is key to any kind of growth, and you got to have all of it, awareness, to be able to go further. And without that awareness, you're going to be stuck in a rut. That's what we'll try to start with. I'm not sure exactly what we got going. This is a temporary little setup. I'm going to have pretty much a laid out, what's the word I'm looking for, studio of sorts to be able to record videos at, but more doing it in home. And I want to make it just about the talks. So the talks, I want to document what it is that's going on in my life, why it's going on, how it's happening. We're going to just say that, and we'll see where that goes, and good luck, I guess. Main thing to all this is I want to be able to take you with me. I have a lot of aspirations, a lot of goals, and I want to be able to show you what action can be about. Because I have literally, basically, none of my goals conquered besides maybe a little bit of schooling that I wanted to accomplish a long time ago. But as far as modern day goes, I haven't accomplished any of my goals, and I'm at a point where that needs to change. I'm aware of that change. I've been aware the whole time. I've just been lazy. So we're going to try to make it momentous. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Just let's see what happens. Wish me luck. And you guys have a great rest of the day, as always.